New York just became the first state in the country to hit pause on new data centers and to keep the cost of powering them off your electric bill. Plus, Vermont bans a weed killer tied to Parkinson's, and Ohio sends voter ID to the November ballot. From Amendment, this is the 10th.
They said, calm down while they count our hands. Paper suits make rules from the palace band. My block got bills stacked like a wall. Still they smile on screens when they let us fall. I see the wires behind the goal. Same old faces biting the vote. We keep moving on permission now. When the people rise, they hear it loud. Fuera, fuera.
There's a meter on the wall of your home, and once a month it tells the power company how much electricity you used, and you pay for it. Simple. This week, a state legislature looked at that meter and asked a different question.
Which is?
Not how much you use. Who else gets counted on your bill? Because the warehouses full of computers that run artificial intelligence pull electricity by the small city's worth. And in a lot of places, the cost of plugging them in lands on you.
So this week was really about what counts. That's exactly the frame. This was a week the laboratories of democracy spent deciding what counts, what gets measured and metered and put on the public record, and what the law decides is worth protecting. New York went first on the power bill. Vermont went first on a poison. Ohio took a vote to the November ballot. New York rewrote which words count in its family law. Louisiana put hazing on a public ledger. And Delaware weighed letting a camera count every violation against you. That's the whole map for the next 15 minutes.
It is. I'm one of the hosts of the 10th. This is the Sunday briefing on what state legislatures and Congress actually did this week, in the spirit of Meet the Press, but for the state houses, and where you can read every bill yourself at amendment.app.
Bills first. Let's start with the one most likely to land on a kitchen table.
That's the lead, and it's the biggest one. New York Assembly Bill 115660 would make New York the first state in the nation to freeze new permits for large data centers for 1 year.
When you say freeze, is that a ban?
No, and the difference matters. It's a moratorium, which is just a temporary legal pause. A stop sign, not a stop forever.
So what's the year for?
The idea is to buy time to write the rules before the building keeps going. Once a center is up, the wires are in the ground, and the contracts are signed, a 1-year pause lets the state decide how it wants to handle these before the next wave of them lands.
And remind people what a data center actually is.
The windowless warehouses full of servers that run the cloud and train artificial intelligence. The largest ones draw power measured in megawatts. A megawatt is 1,000,000 watts, and the biggest of these centers pull enough to light a town. And here's the part that reaches your wallet.
This is the grid upgrade piece.
Right. When one of these plugs in, the local grid often needs an expensive upgrade. Bigger wires, new substations, and in a lot of states, that cost gets spread across everyone's monthly bill.
So everybody chips in for the data center's wiring, whether they ever set foot in it or not.
In many places, yes. New York's bill says no. The data center pulling the power has to pay for its own grid upgrade, and the bill keeps those costs off household electric bills. It passed the Assembly 103 to 38 and the Senate 43 to 17. Those are wide margins. If Governor Kathy Hochul signs it, New York goes first.
And people were paying attention to this one.
They were. One of ResistBot's fastest climbing petitions this week asked every state legislature to follow New York's lead as electric bills rise. The meter on your wall counts what you use. This week, New York argued about who should be counted for the meter the data center runs.
Okay, the second cluster this week was about the body and about the workplace.
Right. What counts as a harm worth acting on? Vermont House Bill 739 makes Vermont the first state in the country to ban paraquat, a weed killer that research has tied to a substantially higher risk of Parkinson's disease.
First state? So this is legal everywhere else right now?
It is here. More than 70 countries have already banned it, including the European Union and China. The United States still allows it. Vermont just drew the line first.
And the workplace one.
California Assembly Bill 1940 would add menopause to the list of things an employer can't discriminate against. It writes perimenopause, menopause, and related conditions into the state's civil rights law, perimenopause being the years of hormonal change leading up to menopause. And it would require the mandatory workplace poster every employee sees to say so by 2027.
The poster everybody's seen in a break room.
That one. The Assembly passed it 61 to 9, and the state Senate's Judiciary Committee takes it up this week.
There was a third one in this group.
New Jersey Senate Bill 2260, a shield law for medical care. A shield law protects patients and the doctors who treat them from being prosecuted by another state where that care is banned. In this case, reproductive care and gender-affirming care.
So it's about what happens across a state line.
Exactly. The bill says New Jersey won't cooperate with another state coming after a patient or a provider for care that's legal in New Jersey. New Jersey Senate passed it 23-12. After amendments, it needs one more Senate vote, then the Assembly before it reaches the governor.
And it's not the only state doing this.
It's part of a wave of states building legal walls around care that's legal inside their borders, but criminalized somewhere else. The shield law is the tool they keep reaching for.
You said at the top, this was a week about what counts. Where does that go next?
Keep the frame in mind. This was a week spent deciding what counts, and the third cluster decided it in the most literal way. What counts as proof, and which words count in the statute. These were the closest votes of the week, and they split along party lines.
Walk me through them, just what they do.
That's the job. What the bill does, and the recorded vote, and we'll leave the judging to you. Ohio Senate Joint Resolution 10 sends a photo voter ID requirement to the statewide ballot this November. Photo ID is already required to vote in Ohio by law.
So what changes?
A joint resolution like this asks the voters to write that requirement into the state constitution instead, which would put it beyond a future legislature's power to change. The measure exempts mail-in ballots. It cleared the House 61-27 after passing the Senate 22-9.
And the words one.
New York Assembly Bill 08382 is one signature from stripping gendered language out of the state's family law. It rewrites New York's domestic relations and parentage statutes to describe legal parenthood without the words mother, father, and filiation, filiation being the legal term for the parent-child relationship. It uses parent and parentage instead. It passed the Assembly 91-46 and the Senate 38-23, and now heads to the governor's desk.
There's a sports bill in this cluster, too.
Pennsylvania Senate Bill 9 would bar transgender girls and women from girls and women's sports teams at public schools and colleges. It defines sex by anatomy and genetics at birth and requires every public team to be designated male, female, or co-ed on that basis. A student who says they were denied an athletic opportunity could sue the school.
And where is it in the process?
It passed the Pennsylvania Senate 32-18 more than a year ago and has moved between committees since. The House Health Committee takes it up this week.
Last cluster.
What gets counted and kept? One bill aimed at an institution, one aimed at you. Louisiana House Bill 636, the Caleb Wilson Hazing Prevention Act, is now signed into law. It's named for a Southern University band member who died in a fraternity hazing ritual last year.
What does it actually require?
That suspected hazing be reported to police, not just handled inside the school. And it creates a public database of every incident and how the campus responded, putting on the record something that used to stay behind closed doors.
That database is the part that sticks out. It turns something handled quietly into a public record.
That's the whole move. What used to be a campus matter becomes something anyone can look up. That's the count going onto the record.
And the one aimed at us.
Delaware House Bill 442 points the count the other way. Delaware's automated traffic cameras were set to switch off on a sunset date. That's the built-in expiration written into the original program. A lot of programs get passed with one of these, so a legislature has to take a fresh vote to keep them.
So the cameras were supposed to turn themselves off?
They were. This bill deletes that expiration, makes the cameras permanent, and expands them beyond speed enforcement, so they can ticket any traffic violation. The House Public Safety Committee took it up this week. One bill counts an institution's conduct onto the public record. The other lets a camera count yours.
A few more from the week. Quick ones.
Massachusetts House Bill 5478. Governor Maura Healey signed a law letting cities opt in to a 3 a.m. last call and outdoor drinking districts through the summer, timed to World Cup matches coming to Foxborough.
Opt in, so it's a local choice. Each city decides for itself. And here's the wrinkle. Massachusetts still bans happy hour, the old discounted drinks rule, but it just legalized 3 a.m. California had a lopsided margin on one. California Assembly Bill 2 would let parents sue social media platforms that pull in over $100 million a year if they fail to take ordinary care to protect kids. Ordinary care is the legal standard you'd apply to any business, the reasonable thing a careful operator would do. The bill points it at the biggest platforms. It cleared the full assembly 66-0, not a single no vote.
And on the federal side?
Federal Senate Bill 1146, a bipartisan bill to put cameras in the U.S. Supreme Court for the first time, got a Judiciary Committee hearing this week.
The court already lets people listen, doesn't it?
It releases same-day audio for some arguments now, but live video is barred. This bill would change that, so the public could watch the arguments as they happen. One more. Delaware Senate Bill 291 would require the state to report and independently review every death that happens in police custody, in jail, or in detention, a standard public accounting for deaths the public rarely hears about. And all of these, every bill we've named, have a plain English breakdown at amendment.app.
A few numbers to land with from this week. First, New York on data centers, Vermont on paraquat, each the first state in the country to do what it did. 103 to 38. New York's assembly vote to pause new data centers. 70-plus countries that already ban paraquat. The weedkiller, Vermont just became the first U.S. state to ban. And 66 to nothing. California's vote to let parents sue platforms over harm to kids. There was a public pressure signal running underneath all of this, too. There was. On the action side, ResistBot's most signed petitions this week pointed mostly at Washington, blocking new funding for immigration enforcement, protecting the Forest Service and ocean science budgets ahead of a hard fire and storm season, and a long-running demand around the Epstein files.
So mostly federal.
Mostly. But one of the week's fastest climbers tracked the lead story exactly. A petition asking every state legislature to copy New York and pass its own moratorium on new data centers as electric bills climb. The public's attention pointed at Washington. Some of this week's most concrete action got counted in the states.
So bring us back to the frame we started with.
We opened on the meter on your wall, the one that counts what you use. Pull back, and that's what the whole week was. What counts on your electric bill? What counts as a poison worth banning? What counts as discrimination at work? What words count in the law? And what gets counted on the public record? This week, the laboratories of democracy spent their time deciding what counts.
And if you want to see the receipts?
For the full text, status, and plain English breakdown of any bill we mentioned today, head to amendment.app.
If you liked this, follow the 10th on Spotify so the next one finds you, and leave us a review. It genuinely helps people find the show.
Thanks for listening to the 10th. We'll see you next Sunday.
If they lock the gate, we move as one. If they change the rules, we don't run. No more borrowed truth, no more fake grace. We raise our flags in a different place.